Hi, everybody. Today we are going to cover the trial of Georgia versus Nicholas Kassotis. Uh, um, Today is the first day of the trial. I don't know a whole lot about it. I am going to share my screen and we'll do a quick read and then we'll start the trial here. So bear with me here a minute. Okay. So he is charged with dismembering his second wife, I believe. So Nicholas Kassotis was arrested in May 2023, charged with dismembering his wife, Mindi. The Liberty County man accused of red rumming his wife in 2022 appeared in court on Thursday. This was on July 25th of this year. Newly released details were shared during the Thursday pretrial motions hearing for Nicholas Kassotis. This case, as the court knows, is incredibly gruesome in a way that I believe will create additional trauma, said Atlantic Judicial Circuit District Attorney Lori Bio. Kassotis has been in custody since May of 2023 for the red rumming of his wife Mindi in the fall of 2022. Prosecutors revealed that her body was found in 4 pieces with tool marks present. Both the prosecution and defense agreed that the crime scene photos should not leave the courtroom. It is my intention, Your Honor, not to be gruesome, but rather to be strictly and solely forensically informative to the jury, Biles said. The court also debated whether testimony from one of Kassotis' ex-wives should be allowed. Prosecutors noted that just months before Mindi Kassotis' death, the ex-wife had won a $1.5 million divorce judgment against Nicholas. They alleged that Kassotis and his wife went on the run to avoid paying the judgment. However, the defense argued that the couple was fleeing from someone else, an individual named Jim McIntyre, who allegedly controlled their finances. They were moving every few days, few weeks, few months, under control of this person we'll keep calling Jim McIntyre, said Doug Weinstein, Kassotis' attorney. While the state says that that's a fabrication, it's clearly not a fabrication that he makes up after the fact, because he and Mindi told people about what was going on, why they were on the run, and everything else. Prosecutors dismissed the Jim McIntyre story as a CIA conspiracy theory type of argument. They also requested the judge allow a target receipt as evidence. There's a target receipt that the defendant purchases on his way to meet with Samantha Colesmith, his third wife. When he purchased condoms and Old Spice within days, where he purchased condoms and Old Spice within days of his wife being deceased, Biles said. Weinstein countered, I don't know the relevance of Mr. Kassotis other than color, the relevance of Mr. Kassotis buying condoms and Old Spice, but I'll get to that at that point in time. Kassotis' trial expected to start today, last about 3 weeks. Prosecutors plan to call at least 35 witnesses. Okay, so let's get to going here. Do a little. Yeah, I'm just gonna do a little zoom down, and then just so you all know, I live in a small two-bedroom apartment with my fiance and our three cats, and so you probably frequently hear or my fiance.
All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Good morning. I hope you had a good evening. I appreciate you being here on time this morning, and I trust that you were all able to abide by the court's instructions and not have any access to any media accounts regarding this trial. And I again emphasize that that is so important to maintain the integrity of this trial, and we all appreciate your understanding and your cooperation. I do want to give you just a basic understanding of the procedure that we will follow during the course of this trial. The trial will begin this morning with the opening statements made by the attorneys. Now, I caution you that the opening statements are not evidence. They are simply an introduction to the evidence. They will give you an outline or a preview of what they expect the evidence to be in this case. And because
Also, I just want you to know that I am keeping an eye on if there's a press conference that's going to be happening with Austin Drummond. If I do happen to see that, I'm going to stop the live. I'll create a new one and go over from there for the Austin Drummond press conference, and then I'll come back and resume this one.
the state has the burden of proof, the state has the right to go first. Now, again, as I mentioned yesterday, the defendant enters upon the trial of this case with a presumption that he is innocent. And that presumption stays with the defendant until such time as the state presents sufficient evidence to convince you jurors of the defendant's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. That is the state's burden of proof. After the opening statements are concluded, we will begin the presentation of evidence. You'll hear testimony from live witnesses. You'll see photographs, exhibits, documents, all of which will be introduced during the course of this trial. At the conclusion of the trial, the attorneys will give their closing arguments. And again, the closing arguments, like the opening statements, cannot be considered by you as evidence. It is very important that you pay close attention throughout the entire trial, and I will try to give you as many breaks as necessary to keep you comfortable, to keep you refreshed. In the event that you feel that you need a break and there hasn't been one, just raise your hand or try to alert the bailiffs, and we'll make all the necessary provisions to keep you comfortable. So we thank you again for your service. We thank you for abiding by those instructions. So we'll begin the trial at this time with the opening statements. Ms. Bayo, you may proceed for the state.
Your Honor, I'm going to defer and I'm going to go second.
All right, thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I introduced myself yesterday, but just so, again, y'all know who I am. My name is Doug Weinstein, and I am representing Mr. Kassotis in this case. It is my honor to do so. Ladies and gentlemen, my client, Nick Kassotis, is not just an accomplished attorney and decorated JAG officer who served his country in Iraq.
It's interesting that the defense is doing opening statements first instead of the prosecution.
All-consuming fear. His wife, Mindi, also lived in fear. Mr. Kassotis is accused of the unthinkable, the absolutely unthinkable, murdering his wife. But the truth, what really happened, is far more complex. Mr. and Mrs. Kassotis were told that they were targets. You will hear testimony that a man calling himself Jim McIntyre, who knows if that is his real name, claiming to be with the FBI, told them that their lives were in danger, that they had to disappear, follow orders without question, and trust no one, not their family, not their friends, not their loved ones. Every move they made, every lie that they both told, every strange decision, and there were quite a few that you will hear about in testimony, were driven by that fear. Mr. Kassotis lied to his friends. He lied to his family. He lied to Mindi's loved ones. He lied for years. Not because he wanted to deceive them, but because he believed that their lives depended on it. You're not going to hear testimony that Mr. Kassotis killed Mindi. You will hear testimony that he tried to protect her, but he was manipulated, controlled, terrified. And that fear, real and overwhelming, shaped everything that he did for years. Who's Nicholas Kassotis? Mr. Kassotis grew up in New Hampshire, in rural New Hampshire, in an area where there were quite a bit of hunting down a road. He graduated college from Boston University. He has 2 law degrees. He has a JD degree, which is the basic law degree, like I have, a JD degree from Northeastern University up in Boston, and he has an LLM from Georgetown. In Georgetown, he specialized in national security law and in cybersecurity. You will hear that Mr. Kassotis is a decorated military veteran, as I've already alluded to. He served in the JAG Corps for a decade. He served in Iraq. He was in the Pentagon. When he separated from service, he left as a lieutenant commander. He achieved numerous commendations within the Navy. He got the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal, the Joint Service Commendation Medal. And during Nick's time in the Navy, in the JAG Corps, he would sit at this very table that the prosecutors are at now, because during his time, at least in Italy, he was a prosecutor. You will hear testimony, I expect. I don't know everyone that the state is going to put forward, but you're going to hear testimony, I imagine, from Mr. Kassotis' first wife, Heather. They were divorced in 2015 when Mr. Kassotis learned that Heather was being unfaithful.
I ordered 200 hand-forged knives to my dorm room and built a Wix website to sell them. I'm Noah Rosen, founder and owner of Forged to Table Knives, working my way up through the culinary industry.
Evidence upon in the fall of 2016. Shortly thereafter, Mr. Kassotis separates from the Navy. He serves for a brief time as a civilian in the Navy, but then he leaves that. And why does he leave that? He leaves because, frankly, a lot of very strange and unusual things began to happen, and you will hear testimony on that. And he eventually contacts authorities, and a man calling himself Jim McIntyre appears. Now, Jim McIntyre claims to be with the FBI, and Jim McIntyre tells Mr. Kassotis, tells Mindi, that they're in danger. They're in danger, their life is in danger, and they have to go essentially on the run. You'll also hear that following Mr. Kassotis' divorce from his first wife, Heather, she gets a $1.5 million judgment as part of the divorce against Mr. Kassotis. In the course of providing that award, Mr. Kassotis was under the belief that he was the recipient of a sizable sum of money. But you will hear he never gets that money. That money was illusory. That money was allegedly being held by Jim McIntyre for Mr. Kassotis. So he believed he was getting that money. He never got that money. I imagine that the state is going to tell you that Mr. Kassotis and Mrs. Kassotis, Mindi, moving around the country is because of this $1.5 million judgment. But the reality is it was because of fear. So there's a lot going on with Jim McIntyre. There are a host of lies that are told by my client over the next few years while they are on the run. As I said, you're going to hear about the lies that they told to their friends. You're going to hear about the lies that they told to their family, and specifically that Mr. Kassotis told. But this isn't a case about that. I would like you to focus on the tragic murder of Mindi Kassotis. You're going to see horrific, awful images of Mindi Kassotis' body. Unfortunately, I imagine that they are going to stay with you long after this trial is over. You're going to see her torso. You're going to see her legs. You're going to see her head. And it will be difficult for you to see that. I'm sorry that any of us have to see that. You're going to see a Milwaukee knife that was found near the scene of her body. What aren't you going to hear? You're not going to hear evidence that that knife was used on Mindi Kassotis. You're not going to hear evidence from the state's own toolmark expert that that knife was used on Mindi Kassotis. You're going to hear about a tub that was found near her body that was likely used to transport Mindi Kassotis. You're not going to hear evidence of Mr. Kassotis' DNA on that tub. You're not going to hear evidence of Mr. Kassotis' blood on that tub. Just like in the knife, you're not going to hear evidence tying Mr. Kassotis to that specific knife. Now, you will hear evidence that Mr. Kassotis purchased the same brand and style of knife at Home Depot. But you will not see evidence again that ties Mr. Kassotis to that specific knife found at the scene. You're also going to hear evidence of a knife set that Mr. Kassotis purchased at Bass Pro Shops around the time of Mindi's death. But again, the state's own toolmark expert is not going to be able to tell you that those knives were used on Ms. Kassotis. There is a lot that the state will not be able to show you. The state will not even be able to tell you how Mindi died. They do not know how Mrs. Kassotis died. She was murdered, but how is unknown. You're not going to hear evidence telling you where Mindi was killed. They don't know where Mrs. Kassotis was killed, and you won't hear evidence about that. At the time of Mindi Kassotis' murder, Mr. and Mrs. Kassotis were living in Savannah. You'll hear evidence about the state's searching of the Airbnb that they were renting in Savannah. You'll hear evidence of her blood being found on the futon at that residence, along with another individual's blood. You won't hear evidence about whose blood that second individual's is. The state's case is going to be very circumstantial, which is why they will tell you it takes 2 weeks to put it on. You're going to hear evidence that my client's vehicle was at the scene because they track the GPS in the vehicle. And when I say the scene where her body was found. But you're not going to hear any eyewitnesses placing my client at the scene. You're just not going to see any of that. So while you're going to hear witness after witness after witness testify about the lies that my client told when he was on the run from the individual or individuals that were trying to harm him and his wife. You'll hear lots of that. You're not going to hear a lot of evidence tying my client to this murder. So what I ask you to do is focus on what's really at issue here. As you watch this evidence, focus on what evidence does the state have that ties Mr. Kassotis to the death of Mrs. Kassotis. They're going to want to distract you. They're going to want to get into all these other lies. They're going to want to get into his third wife. He marries another woman shortly after Mindi's death. A woman that he had been inappropriately flirting with during the last months of Mindi's life. And after Mindi's tragic death, he goes to Pennsylvania and he marries her. But none of those are issues that are the primary issue. So I would just like you to listen to all of the state's evidence, hear what their witnesses say, look at their exhibits, and see if, once you review all of that, the state is going to meet their burden. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your attention this morning.
Thank you, Counsel. Ms.
It's a
Bailey.
pretty big red flag if he's marrying, somebody so quickly. She passed away in the fall of 2022. He was arrested in 2023. Somewhere in there, he drives to Pennsylvania and marries a third woman. That's crazy. So let's see if the prosecution does an opening statement.
December 2nd, 2022. It was the week right after Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving that year was on Thursday, the 23rd of November. That weekend for South Georgians is a big hunting weekend. It's deer season. You're going to hear that weekend, Portal Hunting Club, which is located in Riceboro, Georgia, Liberty County, right near McIntyre line. Down off I-95, Jones Road, that turns into Barrington Ferry, but it's right over there. And you're going to hear that there were hunters out. It's a family weekend. They were all out for deer season. You're going to also hear that Portal Hunting Club is a dog club. That means is that when they hunt, they use dogs to do the hunt. And the dogs run out into the woods and the deer run, and then the hunters shoot. And you're going to hear that one of those hunters shot a deer. And the dogs that he was using went to retrieve the buck. Dogs just weren't acting right. When he said come back, dogs weren't acting right. So he went to look to figure out what was going on. He did not expect what he found. He found a headless, legless torso, nude, completely nude, with 2 arms, one almost severed, her 2 legs severed, her head severed, just off the roadway. And as you can imagine, you will hear him testify. They were shocked, horrified. And I submit to you that the evidence that you will hear is that they returned to the clubhouse to try and get the police.
And
Call somebody to
remember,
come out. And you're going to hear testimony that that's when the onslaught of law enforcement kicks into high gear. They respond, and they
what's
get there
going
by
on?
about
Hang on, sorry.
4:50 p.m. And you're going to hear what the hunting club area looked like.
What the? Oh, I know. Okay, there we go.
Portal Hunting Club and the area surrounding it, the adjacent
Sorry
acres,
about
it's over
that.
30,000 acres of logging territory. And they hunt on that territory with permission. That looked like a great place to drop a body if you're not from South Georgia. Because that's a busy weekend. Logging, hunters, dogs. You don't know they're there. I submit to you, you're going to hear that that wasn't a great place to leave a body because they found it quick. Wasn't far off the road, and they found it quick. You're going to hear and see some of the information that law enforcement collected, where the torso was recovered. And you'll see those roadways. They're not asphalt. They're not like regular roadways of the highway, but they're still roadways. And the logging trucks use those. And there are cars that come through, and local citizens will cut through there when the season is going on because the locks are off the gates. And you're going to hear that people were coming and going. Lots of people. And over the next couple of days, you're going to hear what they found. But that very first day, on December 2nd of 2022, the crime scene investigator shows up and they start documenting the crime scene. And I'm going to submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, counsel's right. I agree about one thing. There are tons of horrible pictures. And I submit to you that we will do our very best to limit what we show you. The state has a burden to prove our case beyond a reasonable doubt. And dismemberment, unfortunately, is what we were dealt. And we have to prove that. So we will present photographs to prove that. But the torso wasn't all that was found on that first day of December 2nd of 2022. Crime scene is going to talk about what they recovered there. And that investigator recovered not just the torso, but the tubs that were used to transport. And I submit to you, you're going to hear testimony about the blood that was found inside of those tubs, that they tested it on the scene, that they knew it was first blood, and then that it was human blood next, because they can test for that. And they're going to tell you also about the knife. Counsel talked to you a lot about what wasn't shown. But I submit to you, you all assured us, and I'm going to ask you to use your common sense as much as possible. You're going to hear about that knife. A Milwaukee, orange-handled, black-sheathed knife.
Yep.
And that knife, ladies and gentlemen, had a cleansing wipe wrapped around it.
Yeah, because it's on the same,
Things you use to clean up.
someone's
Those
gonna
wipes
arrive
were
at two
everywhere.
locations.
There were lots of them that were.
Yeah,
recovered.
that's happens
Because
to
the
be the,
killer-
office where they also have the everything.
The killer didn't want to leave behind evidence. I submit to you that killer was a prosecutor. I submit to you that the evidence is going to show that he would have known.
Well, that's fine, it's all
to clean
whatever.
up. And I submit to you that there's more evidence. That knife was purchased, I submit, the evidence will show, by Nicholas James Kassotis. If you look at that picture, the state will introduce it.
Thing is that if
You can see
I
that
am
knife
armed,
tucked
it's
under
like
his
a
arm.
Friday morning,
That's him on
and they
surveillance
put it that,
from Home Depot.
it was on Friday morning for the Western Proof Company.
And I submit to you that in case you were unsure that that was him, that's the receipt.
But they wouldn't do it, so they had the
Showing,
observation.
if you look closely, that's his name, Nicholas James Kassotis.
Ignite the fairways.
With Fireball.
Yeah, I'm good.
Jiminy Cricket, you don't even have a club in your hand.
And
The evidence will show that Nicholas James Kassotis purchased that knife. And if you look at that, he bought it at 8:56 a.m. on the morning that you will ultimately hear was the day her body was dumped. The same day, hours after. And you will hear evidence of exactly how we know that. You'll see the tubs. They will be here in this courtroom. You will hear about the DNA analyst testing the substances inside of those tubs and that it was Mindi's blood in those tubs. They didn't know who she was then. They just knew there was an unidentified torso. Those tubs also get bought at Home Depot. And you're going to hear how detectives from the Liberty County Sheriff's Office and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation ran down every lead they could. And in the beginning of this case, you're going to hear that there wasn't a lot to work with. You're going to hear they found a torso with no head and no legs. And that was all they had. That, the knife, and the tubs. So you're going to hear how they started with the knife and the tubs. And then it gets worse. Because while hunters are still out hunting, we find more pieces. Over a 3-mile radius, pieces are dumped with no regard, I submit to you, will be the evidence. Tossed into the woods. The heavier piece, right by the edge of the road. But her legs, they're brought farther out in the woods. Second tub is recovered. I submit to you that was used to carry her leg. You're also going to hear how her head was ultimately recovered. First leg found by a hunter, separate hunter than the first crew. I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to hear about all of the victims in this case, because although Mindi suffered the most tragic loss, no question, every person this case touches suffered. You're going to hear there's a second hunter that finds the first leg. And then you're going to hear that they do a canine search. They deploy the dogs, cadaver dogs, to try and find the rest of her. That their job was to try and find this whole person to lay her to rest. You're going to hear that a canine recovered with his handler, of course, the second leg. And I'm not going to show it right now, but you're going to hear how they collected maggots, fly larvae from that leg to determine when these pieces were dumped. You're going to hear from the doctor. I call him the bug doctor. He's an entomologist, not that fancy. He's going to tell you when those bugs could have been exposed to her body and how that helped law enforcement to narrow down when she got there. That's the second tub. That was found next to the leg.
I don't have the.
And you're going to see where each of these pieces was recovered. I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to hear that they were recovered exactly where Nicholas James Kassotis' vehicle was tracked. You're also going to hear him admit that he was there. And I submit to you, you're going to hear him admit it once he realizes law enforcement can track his car. The head, unfortunately, wasn't found until 5 days later. Buried. That's the shovel. And I submit to you, you're going to see the pictures that show that a shovel was used, because you're going to see that there are roots that are disturbed, where a shovel hit roots and a new spot was picked, and her head was buried. You're going to hear about how by some miracle that head was found. By some disturbed dirt on the roadway. And then you're going to hear and see Mr. Kassotis buying a shovel, November 4th of 2022. From Home Depot, just by his house in Savannah. Counsel had you believe it's circumstantial, you're not going to see anything, but I submit to you, your common sense is going to easily dictate what the evidence shows. An autopsy is conducted.
And I said I had an initial one,
2
so I
days.
had to tell us about.
Because we didn't know if the head was going to be recovered. That's what you're going to hear the officers testify to. And Dr. Mindi, our medical examiner, is going to explain that. He started the autopsy on the torso and the two legs. He took what's called blood stain cards so that he could send the DNA to the laboratory to determine, is this the same person? We made sure we had the same person first. And on the 9th, he continued the autopsy because the head was recovered. And he's going to tell you there were 9 traumatic wounds to her skull. She was beaten on the head. You will see it. Those didn't go away. One of them resulting in a small fracture. I submit to you, you're also going to see her abdominal wounds. And you're going to hear why. The state is going to present to you a reason why there were wounds to her abdomen as well. And unfortunately, you're going to hear about the dismemberment. You're going to hear from the doctor. He can't rule out certain things. And I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to hear the reason he can't is because of the defendant. I submit to you, He can't rule out, for example, asphyxia, choking, because her neck is missing. Parts of her body have been so damaged that he can't do anything about that. That's what you're going to hear. He won't guess. You will not hear any guessing from the state. You will hear facts. And I submit to you, those facts will be compelling. Who is she? That was the next step, right? Who is she? How do we figure out that it's Mindi? Now, I've called her Mindi, but the detectives and law enforcement, they didn't know yet. They're going to talk to you about what they did at the time. They tried to test her fingerprints at the scene. They had her hands. They weren't on record. You're going to hear that they went ahead and they checked after the autopsy. She had actually on the right side a dental implant, like a crown. They couldn't track that, but they tried. You're going to hear that they did her DNA. They're going to hear that it wasn't in the system. And they went to genetic genealogy. God bless our country. Technology gets better and better. And they were able to get leads to figure out who she might be related to try and figure out who this woman was. And you're going to hear that the lead that they got dealing with the FBI was for who might be her mother, Betsy Mebane. And Betsy Mebane, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to hear they did her buccal swabs. It's like a Q-tip, those cotton swabs that they put inside your mouth, and they collected mom's DNA. And it turned out that was her mother. 99.9999% statistically. That is Mindi. You're going to hear about the forensic sketches that came out, that they tried to find information, and the hundreds of leads that law enforcement ran down. You're going to hear about all of the work that everyone put in to try and figure out who is this woman. All while they were trying to run down the knife and the tubs, because that's all they had at the scene at the time. Remember I told you, the doctor, the entomologist, he will estimate the dates of exposure between a window. And he gives a window, and he'll explain to you why there's a window of the 27th through the 29th. And the mean, or the median, right in the middle, is the 28th. But it could be a little bit before or a little bit after, because he's going to tell you how he did DNA on the fly larvae to figure out how far along they were in their life cycle. So he could know exactly when her body was done. But that in and of itself isn't all you're going to have. Now that we know it's Mindi Mebane Kassotis, you're going to hear that law enforcement went and talked to the people that last saw her alive to, again, keep closing in that window, right? And you're going to hear that she was at her house with the defendant at the time in Savannah. Her parents had gone away for Thanksgiving weekend. Her dad's going to tell you that he saw her a couple of days before they left. They went up to Hilton Head with their youngest son, and that they were not at the house that weekend. The four of them you're going to hear lived together. Mindi, Mr. Kassotis, her mother, and her father. And that her mom and dad went away knowing that Mindi wasn't feeling well, that she was on bed rest from being 8 months pregnant.
Oh my.
That's what her parents thought. In fact, you're going to hear that they thought that January was her due date. And that she didn't go because she was going to stay home. She didn't feel well. And you're going to also hear them tell you that they were very glad to hear when Mr. Kassotis advised them that Mindi was in the hospital, because they thought, great, she's going to get treatment. They're going to take care of her. We're not worried. So they weren't surprised when they came home and they didn't see Mindi. And you're going to hear one of the most compelling things. Her dad had hip surgery November 30th of 2022 when he came back from Hilton Head. And when he came back, he went into the hospital, St. Joseph Candler, near the house. It was an overnight stay. And on December 1st, when he came back, Mr. Kassotis helped him into the house with his wife. It's a couple of steps to walk in, and he had just had hip surgery. And you're going to hear Mr. Kassotis told her parents, "Don't worry, I'll take care of Mr. Mevin. Go back to work. Mrs. Mevin, go back to work. I'll watch him." And while they're in the house together, he says to her father, "I'm going to get Mindi." She's dead. "I'm going to get Mindi" is what you will hear, but she's dead. And he knew that. And I'll tell you why. The evidence is going to show that they were at this house in Savannah, and that in the house in Savannah, there's blood in the house, and it's Mindi's blood. And you're going to notably, you're going to see the photographs, that blood is right where her head would be on the futon. You're going to hear about blood specks on the wall that they needed to use Blue Star, a luminescent, to find because it had been cleaned up. You're going to hear, we don't know whether she died there. But there was definitely a bloodletting event there. And the only person with access was Nicholas James Kassotis. So we follow his car, because now we know it's the 29th, 27th through the 29th. And what we find, his car is a green Ford Explorer. If you see at the top of that frame, there's a City of Riceboro building, and that building has a camera. And that camera captures a green Ford Explorer driving past it November 29th. I submit to you the evidence will show that that's the same day, if you recall, he bought that knife that was found on the crime scene. 8:56 in the morning. You're going to see his car. I submit to you, drive right past it. And I'm going to submit to you that the evidence that you're going to see that tells you why we know it's his car is that car has Bluetooth. When you buy a new car and your phone can sync so you can talk on your phone, lots of those new cars do that. AT&T keeps those records. Not the Jim McIntyres, but AT&T. I'm going to submit to you an independent third party, no interest in this case. And those records are going to show his car ping from his house to Home Depot and his whole drive right down 95 to Riceboro, right across into where he dumps the body. And he's going to admit on the audio statements to law enforcement post Miranda, an attorney who waived his rights, he told them, "I turned off my GPS." And you're going to hear the surprise in his voice when he learns they can track his car too.
Yeah.
You're going to hear that the car and
For a
the
former
phone
prosecutor, he should have known
are
that.
the same path.
Dude.
You're going to see that witness from Riceboro, and you're going to see those photographs. And there they are. You're going to see his Ford Explorer drive right past it. You're going to see the Georgia records that show it's his car. You're going to see the car records that show he bought that car with cash. Almost $46,000 of cash that he claims Mr. McIntyre was running all of his money, and he had no money. That's what you're going to hear. And we're going to tell you where he had money from. You're going to see the car come, and you're going to see the car go. And I told you, we followed the phones. That's why I said December 1st. He tells her parents he's going to the hospital to pick her up. She's already dead because he put her there. You're going to hear why everybody believed Mr. Kassotis. Counsel just told you all these wonderful things about his client. Decorated military veteran, prosecutor, judge advocate general with the Navy, Pentagon, Boston, 2 law degrees. It's not just her family that believed him. Everybody believed him. On paper, he looked like Prince Charming. I submit to you, that's what the evidence will show. And then you're going to hear the statements from the defendant. And I submit to you, you should listen to them very carefully. There's a lot of information in there. And it's information that law enforcement was able to run down. It's not just lies.
How to keep your hair looking like you just left the salon at all times. I've been spending so much time and money on the perfect blowout only.
The question becomes why, right? Mr. Weinstein talked a little bit about the divorce. And I'm going to submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, that after 10 years as a decorated military veteran, Mr. Kassotis just leaves the Navy. But he leaves because he owes his first wife $1,500,000+. And the Navy is going to make him pay it. I submit to you that that divorce you're going to hear about, and you're going to hear about it from the understanding of why him and Mindi were on the run. I submit to you, Mindi will be afraid. I submit to you, he fooled her too. I submit the evidence is going to show that her close family and friends are going to tell you that she was afraid. She bought it, and she paid for that with her life. I submit to you, you're going to hear that there was a new woman, that Mr. Kassotis, before he even had this death, was already moved on. He started talking to a new woman. She didn't know. You're going to hear she did not know he had a wife. She was not from here. She was not in any way aware of what was going on. And that he tricked her too. And you're going to hear that he was running as quick as he could away from Georgia. You're going to hear that they got remarried. She was found on December 2nd, that he was already engaged by February, and that he was already married again by April. That he changed his name several times in multiple states. I submit to you, he didn't want to pay that money. That's what you're going to hear. And you're going to hear how he tried to seal off the loose ends. Changing his name, he burned the car. I submit to you, that's what the evidence will show. To the ground. March, brand new Ford Explorer. That's what the evidence is going to show. So let's talk for just a moment about the charges. You're going to hear that the state has charged the defendant, and you're going to listen to the court. So anything I say about the law, if there's any discrepancy, you follow Judge Rose. Malice murder, intent to kill. Every blow is an intent to kill when you're striking somebody in the head. Do we know if that killed her? No, we don't. But we know that all of those contributed to her death, and you're going to hear that from the pathologist, medical doctor. You're going to also hear felony murder, which is aggravated assault, where you intend to cause harm, serious bodily injury, but it ultimately kills them. So even if you don't think for a moment that at each blow it was intent to kill, felony murder is if I intended to assault, then they die, it's felony murder. And you're going to hear something about venue, where she was killed. Counsel pointed out quite a bit about what the state doesn't know. We don't. And the law in the state of Georgia, and you're going to listen to Judge Rose, specifically instructs on venue. It talks about either the county in which the cause of death was inflicted, which in this case, you're going to hear everyone say they don't know exactly when she took her last breath because her body was dismembered and tossed over 3 miles. But they
Yeah.
also, under the law, it says, if a dead body is discovered in this state and it cannot be readily determined in what county the cause of death was inflicted, it shall be considered that the cause of death was inflicted in the county in which the dead body was discovered.
Okay.
The law anticipates cases like this. And I
I'm just
submit to you,
checking by
that's what we
the
have
way
here.
to see if there's
Mindy's body was
any
discovered.
press
That's why
conference
we
at
are
all
here.
right now for Austin Drummond.
You're also going to hear about concealing the death of another, trying to hide the death itself. You're going to hear about the possession of the knife, and you're going to hear about more than one knife, the deer processing kit and the knife itself, that Milwaukee knife. And I submit to you, you have to get through the flesh to get to the bones. And you're going to hear the tool mark expert explain you can't do tool marks on flesh. You're going to hear about possession of tools for the commission of the crime. Those would be the Ford Explorer itself for transporting the body, the insulation knife to get access to the bones, the deer processing kit to potentially cut through the bones, and the tubs that were used to transport her, the shovel that was used to bury her head and partially one of her legs, and the removal of body parts, because they got moved all over. You're going to see them all over that map. And then the tampering, those cleansing wipes, trying to get rid of biological evidence. I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, a prosecutor would know that.
So far, I'm not seeing any kind of a press
I ask you,
conference.
ladies and gentlemen, to bring your common sense. Follow the law. And give justice to Mindy Nevin. Thank you.
For those that are new here, I do have to take breaks. I have fibromyalgia
Thank
and
you,
I have
counsel. If
multiple
you would please call the first witness.
back fractures, so I'm gonna have to get up here
Yes, sir.
soon and move around.
Going to take about a 10-minute recess. So if you would please step
Okay.
out with the bailiff and we'll have you back in here shortly. Thank
And
you.
that would be perfect. So I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna let this play in case it comes back. And I will be right back.
Lovett.
Mr. Levitt, please raise your right hand.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony?
Comments you've done in messages I got way later.
Yes, ma'am. Please have a seat.
Will you forget to hit send or?
Would you state your name, please?
David Olin Lovett.
What do you go by? What are your friends?
Olin, O-L-I-N.
Mr. Lovett, where do you live?
Statesboro,
How long have you been living there?
all my life.
How old are you?
62.
Are you employed?
Yes, sir.
Where do you work?
Lovett Mills Excavating. Self-employed.
What kind of business is that?
Earthwork, dirt work, heavy equipment, construction.
You married?
Yes, sir.
How long have you been married?
35 years.
You have kids?
Yes, sir.
That's always been a problem at your house.
Oh. What's the oldest? What's the youngest?
35 and 27.
Boys or girls?
All boys.
What's the oldest son do?
Builds cabinets.
The middle son?
Works for a fire retardant company.
How do
the
you
youngest
say
son?
it?
He works for me
Okay.
in the construction business.
Are you affiliated with any house of worship in Bullitt County?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know.
Statesboro
It's
works.
not the fact
How
that I
long have
don't
you been
want to.
affiliated with that?
Just 2 years because we just started.
I
this
have
church.
group.
Before that, were you affiliated with
First
another?
United Methodist Church.
And
All
how
my
long,
life.
how long were you
All
with?
my life.
My hunt to find the perfect matte lippy is finally over. This is the Thrive Cosmetics Sheer Strength Moisturizer.
Below Riceburg down here.
How long you
I
been
haven't,
remember?
because
15 years.
I have your march
How
chart
big
at
is
home,
that hunting?
so I get a message.
13,000
It
acres.
says that the exact march chart. If it's
Is
usually
there a
you
older
here,
hunting
you
club
tell.
in Georgia?
No, sir.
Is there a clubhouse on that property?
Yes, sir.
Describe for the jury that clubhouse.
It's a block building, probably
Are you on Wi-Fi?
70 with 4 bedrooms and a big kitchen in the back, in a den in the middle with a big fireplace.
And how does that clubhouse get used?
When we hunt, that's where we stay. You know, most everybody's from Statesboro or Portal, which is right above Statesboro. So we all stay there in the bedrooms. There's 4 bedrooms.
So you say most of the members are from Statesboro?
Yes, sir.
Why isn't there a hunt club in Statesboro?
There is, but we like to get away, try to stay out of trouble, but obviously.
Now, let me direct your attention to Friday, December 2nd, 2022. Did you have occasion to be on the Portal Hunting Club property on that date?
Yes, sir.
Was there something special about that weekend?
I don't think so. Was that the weekend after Thanksgiving?
Were you with any other hunters?
A group of us, yes, sir. Probably 30.
Now, describe for the jury when you're down there hunting, how the hunting takes place.
We usually surround the block and then turn dogs out to strategic places. Jump a deer and run a deer. That's what happened.
And did you have another hunter nearby where you were?
Yes, sir.
Who was
Next
that?
in David Brandon. He was down probably a couple hundred yards from him.
So while you were out there hunting, did you see a deer?
Yes, sir.
Did you take a shot?
I did.
What happened after you took a shot?
I killed it.
On the spot?
Yes, sir.
Then what do you do after you shoot the deer?
Well, I was just went down there to look, and David, next stand, came down with me, and we walked down there and saw the deer. I saw the torso in the ditch, and I thought it was a hog because there's a bunch of wild hogs down there, and I just thought it was a hog. And David and I looked at the deer, and then we went over. He said, "What's that?" And we went over and looked at it, and it wound up being a torso.
Did you touch it or do anything
No,
with it?
sir. It was down in the ditch
I'm showing you now.
Yeah,
what's
about
marked
130
as
then?
picture number 2.1. Do you recognize what this is a picture of?
Yes, sir.
I just want anybody to ask.
Torso was found.
Does it fairly and accurately depict the torso as you saw it that day?
Yes, sir. I really don't remember but one arm. I don't know if this arm was hers or what.
That's exactly it.
I'll tender at this time states exhibit 2.1.
Any objection? No objection. It is admitted.
And I would ask that this time it be published for the hearing.
You may, sir.
No problem.
So I'm seeing there's possibly a press conference for Austin Drummond at about 12:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Yeah. I'd like to do a drink, but I need coffee.
Apparently they can't.
No, I need coffee. Well, I'm taking a drip again. Now, would you start treating right away if you finish? Now, if you want to take that cancel and approve, then you give me trip for
Just showing a blank screen.
Okay, so let's now produce calculations. A lot of things with them.
Trying to see if I can find it and get it set up here.
Well, that depends on how more I like to stuff. Yeah, you have a recent bar acting, right?
Yes.
Now, I looked up. S&P rate is used for nothing else. So, basically, the higher you age, the more cancer to get here today. Believe it. The higher you age, the more chances have to be with you. Yeah, I mean, if you're the more cancer you have, the more you can fly, that's good, it's private line. On that, if you know that's going to be cancer. And then like 2.5, we need to get 3.5. I think it's 2.5. It's a higher than you. It's still be a little extra these variations.
Yeah, we're.
Yeah, I like that thing.
So far, I'm not seeing.
Yeah,
What'd you do
looks
after
like
you
they do a
discovered that?
different box.
We went back to
It's small.
clubhouse,
Anything
told
set
the
up
senior
yet.
Members, and they called the sheriff's office, 911.
How far is the clubhouse from where you found the torso?
Probably 2 miles.
And after you asked somebody to call the police, then where did you go?
I stayed at the clubhouse until they called us back down there.
Okay, and ultimately you went back down there
Yes,
around the
sir.
time the police arrived?
Yes, sir.
Do you know Philip McCallum?
I do.
Was Mr. McCallum out there that day?
He was.
For so long as you were in the presence of that torso, did you or any of the other hunters touch it?
Oh, no.
Do you recall about how long it took the first officer to get there?
Not long at all. Probably 15, 20 minutes at the most.
When that first officer arrived, was the torso in the same condition as you saw it?
Yes, sir.
While you were there, did you see the police put up crime scene tape?
Yes, sir.
And when the tape was put up, did you and the other hunters move outside the crime scene tape?
Yes, sir.
And were you there when Philip McCallum found something?
Yes, sir.
Did you see what he found?
Yes, sir.
What was it?
A tote turned upside down, if I remember correctly.
That's all the questions I have.
All right, counsel, cross-examination.
No.
Just briefly, Your Honor.
I can get into
Mr. Lovett?
I analyzed
I'm
the-
Doug Weinstein. I represent Mr. Kassotis. Just a few questions for you. How long have you been hunting?
All my life.
That year, I guess of 2022, when was the hunting season that year?
Like third Saturday in October till about the second Saturday in January.
How'd you know it was hunting season?
It's not obvious.
That's kind of a silly question, to be honest with you. I mean, all life surrounds that.
It's not a secret that it's hunting season, right?
Indeed.
You don't need to show some special handshake to know it's hunting season,
No,
right?
sir. No, sir.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
That's great.
Thank you, sir. You're excused. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
State calls Anthony Brown.
That's roll again. If I was you, I would not order a fish again.
Yes, I know that's too good a question. That's good. I like those kind of witnesses.
Yeah.
Good morning, sir. Good morning. Before you're seated, please raise your right hand. and take the oath.
Do you swear and affirm that the testimony that you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Please have a seat.
You said you want the only thing you're not like.
You state your name, please.
Anthony Brown.
How are you currently employed?
Went to Liberty County Sheriff's Office, but assigned to the U.S. Marshal Task Force.
What do you do when you're assigned to the U.S. Marshal Task Force?
We're responsible for tracking fugitives.
Now, before you were in civil law enforcement, were you in military law enforcement anyway?
Yes.
Where?
United States Army.
From when to when?
From 2002 to 2008.
And what were your duties as law enforcement in the Army?
Served on patrol as a military police and also as a desk sergeant at Fort Monroe.
In total, how long have you been a law enforcement officer?
22, 23 years.
What's your current rank?
Good for you.
Did you have occasion to be working on Friday, December 2nd, 2022 at around 4:50 p.m.?
Yes.
And around that time, did you receive a dispatch to go somewhere?
Yes.
Where were you dispatched to?
I was dispatched to Barrington Ferry Road near the water tower out in Riceboro.
What time was your shift begin that day? Do you remember?
4:45.
And did you go to that location?
Yes.
When you got there, what happened?
Upon arrival, I met with the caller, who was George Kell, who stated that they had found a headless body in a ditch, and he took me to where it was at. I followed him in my patrol vehicle.
About how long a drive was it from the clubhouse to the torso?
Well, we didn't meet at the clubhouse. We met at if I remember correctly, it was at Sandy Run and Barrington Ferry. It had to be less than a mile, maybe a mile, or something like that.
When you got to the scene, well, what did you observe?
When I arrived on scene, I saw some other vehicles parked on the road that we drove down. There was also some other hunters that was standing around near a ditch.
I'm showing you now what's marked as State's Exhibit 2.
Yes.
What is this?
That appeared to be my patrol vehicle with the hunters that I made contact with on the road that we drove down to get to the body.
This looks like about the time you arrived on the scene.
Yes.
So fairly and accurately depict the scene as you observed it as you arrived.
Yes.
I'll tender into evidence states.
And they're dealing with children little kids. But then you have to go to something, then there's. It's like picking your colored bodies.
Be nice to, see the pictures.
I'm going to show you what's marked as State's Exhibit 2.1. It's previously been admitted.
Okay.
You recognize what this is photographed of?
Yes.
What is it a picture of?
It appeared to be the body that was in the ditch upon my arrival that day.
With court's permission, can we publish Exhibit 2.2 to the jury?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, they're not going to show that picture.
Yeah. Are you familiar with this area where the torso was found?
No, I had never patrolled that area, even though it was in my jurisdiction. I had never drove into the hunting club.
And what is your jurisdiction?
My jurisdiction at the time was Liberty County, the county as a whole.
And the torso was found in Liberty County?
Yes.
After you arrived, what was some of the first things that you directed the other officers to do?
So the next officer on scene was Corporal Martin. I advised him to put up a crime scene tape so that we can block it off to start a crime scene log for anybody coming in and out of the crime scene.
And when that crime scene tape was put up, where were the hunters directed to go?
After I spoke with them and took down their names, they was escorted out of the crime scene.
You mentioned something about a crime scene log.
Yes.
Who maintained that log?
I did.
Okay.
I'm showing you what's marked as State's Exhibit 2.3. And ask if you can identify.
Yes.
What is it?
It appeared to be the crime scene log that I started while on scene.
It's a true and accurate copy of the original that you prepared.
Yes.
I'll tender this time State's Exhibit 2.3.
I'm not sure.
No objection.
It's admitted.
We could publish State's Exhibit 2.3. Can you see 2.3 from your monitor?
Yes, sir.
Was a detective from the Liberty County Sheriff's Office called to the scene?
Yes, sir.
And who was that detective?
Jack Frost.
Yeah.
And when did Jack Frost arrive on scene?
If I could refer to my,
Can you see it on the screen, or would you rather have?
so the time into the crime scene was 17:13 hours, which is 5:13 p.m. Yes, sir. 5:13 p.m. is the time he entered the crime scene.
And you have listed in your report the hunters that were already there when you arrived?
Yes, sir.
You have them listed by name?
Yes, sir, by name.
Could you report to the jury the names of the hunters you found on the scene when you arrived?
Yes, sir. It was George Kell, David Lovett, David Branning, Casey Durden, Gerald Kell, Philip McCollar, and Thomas Stedman. Stephen Stedman.
I guess you can't show
And what do you show the time that they were on scene?
The times I show for those personnel was 16:45, which is 4:45 p.m.
I heard you call out the name of Philip McCollar. Was he one of the hunters?
So he was one of the personnel on scene at the time. So
Were you present when Mr. McCollar found something?
yes, I was.
Do you recall what it was he found?
Yeah. So at one point we walked back towards Barrington Ferry Road from the road that we were on. And while we were standing there talking, he noticed a knife at the end.
There's DIY, and there's doing it. yourself.
Based on what you were told, did you go to a location and see something?
Yes.
What did you see?
I saw a knife at the edge of the wind line where it meets Barrington Ferry Road. And there was also some Tupperware type bins that was there also.
Was that inside or outside the crime scene tape that was initially put up?
At the time, it was outside.
And did that change the location of the crime scene tape after that was discovered?
Yes. At that time, I directed my patrol guys to push the crime scene tape back up to Barrington Ferry Road beyond the evidence that we were looking at.
At some point, was a decision made to call in the GBI to investigate?
Yes.
Were you present when Agent Sands arrived on scene?
Yes.
Based on your crime scene log, what time did Agent Sands arrive?
1959 hours, which is 7:59 p.m.
That's all the question.
I don't like to take it with
Cross-examination.
Yes, thank you, Evan.
I used to be on the left to help it.
I'm sorry, Mr. Brown. What's your proper name?
Lieutenant.
Lieutenant Brown. Okay, I apologize. Lieutenant Brown, my name is Doug Weinstein. I represent Mr. Kassotis in this case. You testified that when you got to the initial scene,
I am going to check something real quick.
there were other vehicles on the scene.
Yes, sir.
How many other vehicles?
Hang on.
I do not recall.
More than 2, more than 5?
It had to be more than 2 because there
So
was
when is
vehicles
this
on the
press
scene
conference?
to include the caller who took me to the scene, I believe.
Sorry,
And
guys.
what kind of road is that? Do you remember if that's a paved road or a dirt road?
It's a dirt road. It was a dirt road.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And what efforts were made to secure the road itself?
Meaning like the crime scene.
To keep vehicles from driving. Were any efforts made to keep vehicles from driving up and down that road?
So we allowed those vehicles to leave off of there, but after that, no other vehicles were allowed on the road. Yes, sir.
And how far was the torso found from the road?
I don't recall the approximate distance.
Okay. Thank you, Lieutenant.
Yes, sir.
No further questions.
Thank you, sir. You're
Thank you.
excused.
Thank you, Judge.
Phil,
may we have
I'm sorry, may we approach?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, guys. I'm logging into X because I haven't done that on my computer yet. So I want
Ladies and gentlemen, I do need you to step out for a few minutes. We'll take a short recess, please.
Thank you.
Please be seated. If council would approach again.
So there's a press conference for Austin Drummond coming up, and I was getting that kind of set up here. I think they're going to go on to the third witness. Yes. And I'm going to keep an eye on this link to see if they go live.
We good? Okay. All right, let's bring the jury back in.
ABC 24 just confirmed that the presser is going to start at 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, which is going to be at 12:30 Pacific Standard Time.
All right, our jury's back in place. Everyone, please be seated. Please call the next witness.
Philip McCallum.
Philip McCallum. Please raise your right hand.
you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Please be seated.
State your name, please, for the jury.
Philip McGillen,
How do you spell your last name?
McCallar.
Where do you live?
Recently moved to Shellman Bluff, Georgia.
Before that, where did you live?
Fleming, Georgia.
How long have you lived here in Georgia?
48 years.
How old are you?
48.
Where do you work?
Daybreak Industrial.
And what kind of business is that?
I'm in the land clearing section of it.
How long have you been employed by that operation?
February of 2021.
Before that, how were you employed?
Coastal Industrial Contractors.
And how long did you work with them?
2 years maybe.
Before that?
Coastal Electric Cooperative.
And how long you worked with them?
20.
20 years?
Yes, sir.
What was your job position?
I was a lead line technician.
You married?
Yes, sir.
How long you been married?
September will be 25 years.
Having kids?
One.
Girl or boy?
Girl.
How old?
22.
Are you a member of any volunteer organizations?
Coastal Conservation Association.
And what does that organization do?
Pretty much helps protect the coastal marshlands.
You familiar with the Portal Hunting Club?
I'm very familiar with it.
How are you familiar with it?
I've been hunting there since 2010.
How old is that club?
1900 it was founded.
Is there an older hunting club in Georgia?
No, sir.
Who was that club established by?
A group of fellows from Portal, Georgia.
What's that near?
Statesboro, Bullitt County.
Now, why would Bullitt County people establish a hunting club down here?
In 1900, there were no deer in Bullitt County.
The majority of the members of that hunting club are from where?
Bullitt County.
Were you on the hunting club property on Friday, December 2nd, 2022?
Yes, sir.
Why were you down there?
Because I hunt every Friday and Saturday during hunting season.
Was that a special hunting weekend?
We hunt every weekend from October the 19th to January the 15th. We hunt.
Describe for the jury how those hunts take place.
We dog hunt, so we'll have a block of.
There
We
you go.
dog hunt.
Sorry
So
about
we'll
that.
have a block of land that's got a road completely around it. We'll put standers all the way around the road, and we'll send the dogs in it, and the dogs run the deer out, and the people on the road shoot the deer.
I'm showing you now with Smart the State's Exhibit 2.4. You recognize that?
Yes, sir. That's my truck.
What's in the truck?
Dogs.
Your dogs?
Some of them probably are. Some of them probably somebody else's because we all get together and it's. But the majority of those are mine. Yes, sir.
Does it fairly and accurately depict those dogs in the back of your truck on December 2nd, 2022?
Yes, sir.
I've shown this previously to council.
Okay, it's 2.4.
2.4, and I would ask that it be published. You see it in your screen?
Yes, sir.
Did you run into Olin Lovett while you were there?
Yes, sir.
And did Olin Lovett report to you that he had discovered something?
Objection.
I'm not asking for what he said. Did he report something to you?
No, sir.
While you were on the scene, did you observe State's Exhibit number 1? Here it is. You recognize this photograph that's previously been admitted into evidence?
Yes, sir.
It's State's Exhibit 2.1. What is that?
That's the torso that we found in the ditch.
And What did you do after this was discovered, you personally?
I stayed there until the law arrived, and when the law arrived, I was escorted to the head of the road for questioning later.
Did you touch the torso?
No, sir.
Did anyone in your presence touch the torso?
No, sir.
You stayed there until the law enforcement people arrived?
Yes, sir. The first deputy that arrived, I was there when he arrived. Yes, sir.
Showing you now is marked as state exhibit number 2.5, which has previously been shown to council. You recognize this picture?
Yes, sir.
What's this a picture of?
That's where we was at before the law got there, or when the law got there. That's where we found the torso.
How close to the torso are these people standing?
10 yards, maybe. It's in the ditch off the road right there.
How close to the roadway was the torso?
2 foot, 3 foot.
Close.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? It looks like they're actually starting to set up
Like
for the Austin Drummond Conference. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is pause here. And then so I paused it where we're at. I'm going to go ahead and bring up a live stream for Austin Drummond press conference. Here in the next couple of minutes, I'll set it up for 12:25. And then we'll continue with the trial coverage. All right, see you guys in a few minutes.